Should you be concerned about the Dallas Cowboys after their brutal schedule coming up? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your
Locked
daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on
Cowboys.
Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. Landon, the NFL schedule has come out. Did you enjoy all the schedule release videos and all the hype that came yesterday?
I'm still celebrating schedule release day. I took a whole week off of work, just called in, just put my phone on Do Not Disturb so I could enjoy all the content.
So ridiculous.
Look, yes, I did look at the schedule yesterday, if that's what the ultimate question was.
How much? Let me ask you this before we even get into the schedule. How much do you care about when games are and when their bye week is? Like, does that stuff impact you at all?
Yeah, I would say that I care, but I would say that it's probably about 25% of what the NFL thinks that I care about this sort of thing. And let me be clear, I co-host a podcast in which I talk about the NFL every day. So,
Yes.
I mean, that kind of gives you any kind of indication of exactly the fervor out there for NFL schedule release videos. I think nothing does.
Yeah, I mean, for most fans, I think the schedule release is just a time where they get to look at, hey, what one or two games might I be able to go to? When is
Scheduling.
that? Right.
Exactly.
Is it a night game? Is it an early game? I think that's basically it. The NFL just likes to make it a big deal. But today, Landon, you and I are going to be talking about the biggest takeaways after looking at the schedule. And listen, we got the schedule here, courtesy of the Cowboys Wire, Katie Drummond, and USA Today. Go check out Katie's work at the Cowboys Wire. Absolutely phenomenal stuff over there. Looking at the schedule, what's the first thing that kind of stands out to you?
Well, that they kind of go coast to coast all in the first half of the season, right? Yeah. Like they do a pair of New York games, not both of them on the East Coast, but they do play the Giants and the Jets back to back. Then they play some teams, and then they do a full West Coast tour, which finishes up in Dallas. But to do San Francisco, followed by the Chargers, and then a bye week, that's kind of interesting. I would say that, like, as a whole, this looks like a daunting schedule. I mean, there's some
hard.
There's some
we knew that, right?
Road games. Yeah, but I mean, that was what we were due for it. I mean, because the cycle of everything. And frankly, if you're upset about this, go look at the Eagles' schedule, for God's sakes. But yeah, I think that this is not surprising. The East got a pretty easy schedule last year, so we knew that this was going to be tough, and it kind of played out that way. You see, San Francisco followed by the Chargers. I mean, is a tough game. I will say the one area where the Cowboys did seem to kind of luck out is in the Thanksgiving area, right? It feels like that situation isn't nearly as bad as it has been at certain points in the past, because the opponent who you're playing.
Look at that stretch right there, starting in week 10. Right, you can see that on the screen right now. You have home against the Giants. You go on the road, and this is your only road game from November 12th until December 17th at Carolina. Home against Washington, home against Seattle, home against Philadelphia. Like, yes, you play a lot of games in that stretch. That's 5 games we just got done talking about, but 4 at home.
Yeah, exactly. And that's makes it a lot easier, right? I would say that, like, just kind of generally speaking, 10,000 foot view, that's probably the cleanest part of the schedule for you, the easiest part of the schedule, even though you're playing Philly, even though Seattle could be good. I think, that stretch is, comparatively to the rest of it is not so bad. I mean, if you look at December, this may be the most difficult December the Cowboys have had in years, right? Like, Philly, at Buffalo, at Miami, and then Detroit. Detroit is going to be a much better team this year than they were last year. We'll see. Buffalo and Philly are two teams that are always pretty good. And Miami has obviously got a very good offense. We'll see exactly where they are by the end of the year, but that could be a really, really difficult stretch.
Yeah. And that was actually one of my biggest takeaways is that stretch in December is really tough, right? Just because of the opponents are really good. Now, they did luck out a little bit that they're just not going to be playing in very many bad weather games. The Buffalo game, it's going to be really cold. I'm just telling you. But to play Miami on December 24th, Christmas Eve in Miami, rather than playing them early in the season when it's so humid and their record, I just saw a stat like their record in the first 3 weeks of the season at home is like 94% of the time win percentage. Like they're unbelievable. So playing that game later in the season is nice. Not playing Philadelphia in December or January is really nice. So they're just not going to have to deal with the elements too much.
Yeah, not playing in Philadelphia. Yeah, absolutely. The fact that you got Philly early helps you a lot. You're going to have to play Washington at Washington, but hopefully by that Week 18 game, you're
done, right?
You're playing guys, yeah. Because
we had the same thing last year, and it was fine, right? The weather was fine in that game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you just kind of have to shoot to hope that your Week 18 game doesn't mean anything because you really don't want to have to play a game on that field that means something that late in the season once it's already been torn to shreds. So that's definitely one that the Cowboys would like to avoid simply for health reasons.
Now, I just to go back to that Thanksgiving point really quickly, we have seen it before where the Cowboys will play the Thanksgiving game, which again, that's against Washington this year, and then they'll have another home game the following Thursday, so back-to-back Thursday games, and then they'll go play on the road.
That's right.
And that's a lot of turnaround, but at least this one playing home. Yes, it's 3 games and what is that, 13 days or 12 days or whatever it is, but at least you're not having to travel at all, so it makes it a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, I think, with the Thanksgiving stuff is that sometimes that, the logistics of like the traveling that you have to do, or like you'll do a Thursday, and then play the like Sunday 10 o'clock game or something like that. The fact that they get like Thursday, and then the Sunday night game, like gives you the full week, like full bye, like mini bye before you play Philly, which is nice. And you get the full time off. You're not. I mean, you're gonna have to go through the normal shortened schedule that you do every year from Carolina to Washington. From the Sunday before Thanksgiving, but the rest of like how that lines up in the few weeks, and that's really kind of key to that turnaround, is laid out in a way that's reasonable at least. And there have been years previously where it has been very unreasonable.
We're going to talk about some of the other portions of the schedule, some games that we're really, really excited to see. But I just want to point out really quickly that second Thursday game the Cowboys play at Seattle. Dallas kind of lucks out here a little bit. I just want to read you Seattle's schedule kind of in preparation for that game. So they have a road game against the Rams, and then they play on Thanksgiving night home against the 49ers. So short week divisional game against the 49ers. And then they've got to travel back to Seattle, back to Dallas to play the Cowboys a week later on Thursday Night Football. And then they play the following week, they play the 49ers in San Francisco. Oof, and then after that, they play the Eagles in Philadelphia.
That's a brutal stretch. Jeez. I mean, those are all the best teams in the NFC that they're playing in 4 weeks, basically. Yeah, and one of them twice. That's a division team. So that's brutal.
I know that playing that quickly, is tough, but man, Seattle got the short end of the stick there. So don't think the league is always out to get the Cowboys. It's not always the case.
No, yeah, some of these. I mean, look at some of these other schedules, and some of them are pretty tough as well. So yeah, it's and look, the other thing to keep in mind here, and this is part of the reason that the schedule release is kind of a silly thing, is that we don't even know how these teams are going to be. No, like just because we're basing this on last year and what we think additions to those last years will do, but as we've learned year in and year out, it is a true crapshoot who can be good, during the actual regular season once we get there. So
I want to talk, Landon, about the first 6 weeks of the season and how the Cowboys might end up doing in that stretch before they get to their bye next. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Are you looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and the calories? Then you need to try the best tasting protein bar ever. It's Built. You've got to try it. It's absolutely fantastic. Built bars are healthy and they taste amazing. Seriously, you're not even going to know that they're good for you because they're covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real dark chocolate. And they come in so many unbelievably great flavors, including churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. Not sure how Built does it because these bars taste like a candy bar, but they have 17 grams of protein, only 4 grams of sugar, and only 130 calories. The best part is now you don't even have to wait to get your Built bars. You can still go to built.com. You can place your order there, but now you can run into your local Walmart, go to the pharmacy section and pick up a 4-bar box of the cookies and cream, the double chocolate bar, or the coconut puff. Or if you live near a Sam's Club, run in, grab a 13-bar box with some of the hit flavors, including brownie batter puff and churro puff, and you can thank us later. Thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every day. Every dayers on Monday, Landon and I are going to be finishing up some of the talk about some of the undrafted free agents, including TJ Bass, Jalen Moreau-Cropper. Make sure you guys tune into that because there's some good undrafted free agents that we haven't got to yet. Make sure you guys listen to that. Landon, let's go through the first 6 weeks of the schedule. So the Cowboys open up the season at New York against the Giants on Sunday Night Football, and then they play the Jets at home, and then they play the Cardinals, home against the Patriots, at the 49ers, at the Chargers, which is basically a home game. I've got to say, I think their first 6 games of the season play out pretty nicely for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the like I mentioned, that early stretch, it looks daunting because it looks like it's a ton of travel, but frankly, it's pretty potted, it's pretty segmented, which is nice. And I think as far as who you're playing, I think just again, we're throwing darts at this point, but I think the New England game, Arizona, Giants, Jets, honestly, I mean, all these games are winnable.
Well, and let's talk about why they're winnable really quickly. It's Aaron Rodgers, his second game.
Yep.
Against second game with the Jets. By the way, the Jets play a Monday Night Football game against the Bills in week 1. So they're going to be already on short rest, having to come to Dallas. So get a little bit of a benefit there. Week 3, you play the Cardinals again at Arizona, but that's not a lot of travel for Dallas. We know Kyler Murray's not going to be ready for that game, right?
Yeah.
You're going to play the 49ers on Sunday Night Football in week 5. Who knows who the starting quarterback is going to be at that time, right? Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be Sam Darnold? Is it going to be Josh Johnson or Trey Lance or who knows, right?
Yeah.
For that reason alone, if you could go 4-2 in this 6-game stretch, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah, the Cowboys really should, do everything they can to come out quick and get stack some wins early because the last half of the schedule is brutal, like we mentioned. Getting some victories early would really kind of just help establish a foothold, put you in a good spot, and then maybe kind of get you into the driver's seat for a little bit. Philly doesn't play. Dallas and Philly don't play until the second half of the season, not even the first time.
Yes.
So if you could stack some wins and get some couple games ahead of Philly, because again, Philly has, as brutal as the schedule is, Philly has a worse schedule because they have a first place version of the schedule. So if the Cowboys are able to kind of come out hot and figure out a way to get some wins to kind of build some space, get some separation between them and Philly, then by the time they get to Philly, those games will really, really be kind of ways to bludgeon them, right? If you can win that game after kind of getting a game or two lead in the division, it really could put Philly in a bad spot. So stacking wins early is going to be huge. I think there's some interesting logistical stuff to discuss as well in the first half. I do wonder in that San Francisco LA game if they don't consider staying on the West Coast for that week. Like, see if maybe Red River Complex will allow them to come in during that week and practice.
I just wonder with them having a Sunday night game and then a Monday night game, does that extra day make them where they can go back home? I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they stay on the West Coast either.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it was when I was looking at that, I was sitting there thinking, maybe Dave Hellman and I could split them on our couches weekend, per weekend.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it is an interesting question, because they do kind of have a West Coast facility in Oxnard. So it
possible.
maybe is an option for them. It'll be interesting to see if they look into it.
The other thing I was going to ask you is week 1 at the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest, I kind of like it, right? Like it's.
I mean, look, after having complained about it for years and years and years, because that's all we got for years and years and years. The rivalry was dead for a while because the Giants, went away from relative obscurity for a while, and now that they're kind of getting their way back into contention, I think it's good to revisit, right? It's nice to kind of get back to it. I think it'll be a good game for the Cowboys. I think it's certainly isn't a throwaway game. I think the Giants are probably a better team than they were last year, but
at the same time, like if you're gonna play at New York, playing in early September is not a bad thing, right? Like we've seen the Cowboys have to play in New York before when it's freezing cold or it's raining or it's snowing. For a team like the Cowboys, it's built on speed and athleticism. Kind of like that. Plus, on top of this, the Giants are just a really young and inexperienced team who, frankly, have not played in a lot of these primetime games. So you do wonder, like, are the Giants at home on Sunday Night Football going to have a little bit of nerves? I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I mean, they are, a very well coached team. So I imagine they will be prepped. But you're right; it's still a very young team, and not had a ton of spotlight on them, even for the players that have been around on the team for a little while. So it's a division game. It's going to be a good game. It is ironic that after years and years and years of being sick of playing opening games against the Giants, to be a little bit excited about this one, but I can't deny it. I think it's a good game for the Cowboys to start the season out with.
My next question for you is about the bye week 7 bye.
Yeah.
Do you prefer early bye weeks? Because that's certainly an early one, or do you like the ones that are a little bit later in the season?
I mean, I think, I like it in the middle-ish,
Like
so
week 9, week 10.
Yeah. I mean, this is fine. I think it's, I actually think that there is benefit to having an early bye, because you get, a certain amount of games underneath your belt. You can kind of huddle together and like kind of reconfigure some things for the second half of the season a little bit more. And, it's still a 10-game stretch you have to do to the end of the season. But, I think ultimately you get the kind of mini bye with Philly in, week 13 or 14. So it actually kind of separates it out. So you get a little bit of a break every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, right? So with the Philly bye, if you want to call it that, right?
Yeah.
You kind of get, a little break every 6 games, which I think if you look at it that way, it can be beneficial, and to kind of help spread out the rest a little bit.
The other thing I was just going to mention about their bye is I actually kind of like them getting their bye after a Monday Night Football game, especially when it's on the road, because usually if you're playing a road Monday Night Football game and then you got to turn around, play on Sunday, it's a huge disadvantage. So yes, you lose a day or a day and a half on your bye, but it really helps you in the long run because they only have one Monday Night Football game.
They only have one, yeah.
So
it's the worst disadvantage, and they get to skip that. That's a huge thing for them. Absolutely.
One more thing, Cowboys against Washington on Thanksgiving. It just feels right. I gotta say,
it certainly feels like. I gotta say, when I first saw it, I was surprised because it doesn't feel normal, but the truth is that it's very normal, right?
Like, a lot of those games
happen a lot, I think that's what's odd, right? Is that it's like there's a nostalgia to it, but at the same time it's unfamiliar for us, lately.
It's because it's from the 2010s, really, right?
Yeah. So it's good to see this kind of coming back, right? Yeah. And I do like the idea of these being more than just. I like the idea when they're division games because the games matter. It's important. my Thanksgiving family members and compatriots that are there around me watching me act like a maniac may not like it very much, but I think having that extra weight to it really brings
Listen,
something special to the Thanksgiving
I'm just glad Aaron Rodgers is not playing against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. That was my fear all along. I want my apple pie to taste good at the end of the day, and with
That's
Aaron
right.
Rodgers, I know it would.
I have a feeling Sam Howell is hopefully not gonna break
No,
my heart on
hopefully not.
Thanksgiving this year.
Hopefully, he wouldn't be the worst quarterback to do it to the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. We've had it happen
Unfortunately
before.
not. He would not. No.
Let's talk about the one game that we are the most excited to see this season next. All right, Landon, just finishing up some of the takeaways here from the Cowboys 2023 schedule. First of all, are you going to any games this year?
Well, that's what I was just going to bring up. I'm going to try. Let's see. I'm going to look at. I've already started looking at ticket prices for the Chargers game. But I may also try to sneak up to that San Francisco game. I got some friends up there. It's a short flight. I haven't ever been to their stadium, so I have some interest there. So I may try to make it to either one of those two games, and then I would have tried to maybe go to a Christmas Day Eve game, but it's in Miami. So if they had played it in Dallas, I may have, because usually I'm in Dallas for that. So I may have tried to do that. Maybe I'll try to go to that Detroit game. I think I might be in town for
that would be cool,
December
especially if that
3rd.
one means something for both teams, right?
Yeah,
that would be a lot
absolutely.
of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the game for me is December 17th at Buffalo. I was really hoping that was to be a little bit earlier in the season. Not sure I'm going to be able to justify it to my wife and my daughter on my daughter's birthday to be able to go to a Bills game all day, but we might have to figure it out because that Bills Mafia is so much fun. And listen, the last couple times the Cowboys have played in Buffalo, we've had some stinking good games. So
That's true.
I'm excited.
Tell me something. Wouldn't this be your first Cowboys game too?
This would be my first, Cowboy game. Yep.
Wow. So yeah, and that's your dad was a Bills fan, wasn't he?
No,
your
dad
dad
was
was a Cowboys fan. That's right.
My whole family's a lot of Bills fans, and I live
Bills
about an
fan,
hour from the stadium. So
yeah, there's some fun extra elements in there for it too. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be an incredible game. And I mean, listen, just an incredible stadium to go to. I would love to just be in that environment. Honestly, I know it's going to be cold, but I think that
it's going to be
football
freezing.
experience. It'll be amazing.
Last one. What's the one game you're the most excited to see?
It's I really have still wanted desperately to see Philadelphia play Dallas full strength.
Yeah,
I think these two teams have not played each other yet as they're currently constituted, and with full health with both starting quarterbacks. I think that is an exciting game. I mean, honestly, I'm excited to see them play San Francisco again. I want to see them. I want to see them break through that. And I think they can, and we'll see who's playing quarterback. Maybe it'll be a little anticlimactic by that time, but I'd like to see Dallas get over that hump.
I think it's the Charger game for me on Monday Night Football. I want to see Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Plus, I think Justin Herbert might be my favorite player in the league to watch right now. He's just so much fun. And the last time the Cowboys played Justin Herbert, they actually had a lot of success. Remember, that's the game they won 20-17. It was Micah Parsons' first game playing defensive end.
That's right.
I think that'll be a really, really good game and a high-scoring game. So I'm excited to see that. All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, go to YouTube. Check out our channel over there, Locked On Cowboys. New content up every single day. And go follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available every single day. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Again, on Monday, we will be back to talk about more undrafted free agents that the Cowboys have signed. Plus, we've got rookie minicamp this weekend. Right. I'm sure we're going to get some nuggets and notes coming out of that. So we'll see you guys right back here on next week to continue our Cowboys coverage.